Hola, ¿qué tal? I'm Robert Martinez, state historian of New Mexico, and this is New Mexico history in 10 minutes. Who were those Spaniards that came to colonize New Mexico in 1598 with Juan de Oñate? Who were they, and who were the reinforcements that came 2 years later in 1600? I want to take a little time to talk about them because this is the beginning of Hispanic culture and civilization in New Mexico. 1598. Think about that. Oh, that's clearly about 178 years before there ever was a United States. So we have had people here speaking Spanish and living a Hispanic lifestyle since 1598. These people were a mix of folks from Spain, Portugal. We had people from New Spain, what's now Mexico. So let's talk a little bit about that first. There were people that came from Spain and colonized in New Mexico with names like Montoya from Cantiana near Sevilla, Romero from Corral de Almaguer, Varela from Galicia. It was a mix of people, okay? But let's be clear. You did not have people in places like Spain or Portugal. The Gonzales were from Portugal. The Gomez were from Portugal. Let's just say these folks were not sitting around in Spain and Portugal saying, oh, I want to go to New Mexico. Quiero ir a Nuevo Mexico or La Nueva Mexico. They weren't doing that. If they were going to leave Europe to come to the Indies, to the Americas, they were going to go where there was action, where there was jobs, where there was opportunity. Places like Puebla, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Zacatecas, Durango. New Mexico was not on their mind. And we have to also remember something about these folks. They were immigrants. That means they were the middle to lower class people in Spain who had no opportunity there. They had nothing going for them. They couldn't find work. Maybe they were from a well-to-do family, but the family inheritance left them nothing, so they had to go make their way in the world. Oftentimes, wealthy families, everything would go to the eldest son. So other sons would have to go become soldiers or priests to have a vocation and a career in life. Well, once the Americas opened up in the late 1400s and 1500s, and then, of course, the 1600s, that was one place that people said, let's get out of here. Let's go to the Americas and start a new life. So let's be very clear about that. So these folks would come to Veracruz and then into Mexico City, and they might stay for a few years, and then when the call was put out to colonize New Mexico, then they would join the expedition. So that's how we get our Spanish ancestry, or that's one way. The other way is there are Spaniards born in Nueva España, born in Mexico, in the Americas. These are criollos. Spaniards born in Spain are called peninsulares, peninsulars. Criollos are Creoles, not like what you see in French Canada or French Louisiana. Let's be very clear. I've seen online some pyramids describing society, colonial society, and they'll list Spanish Creole as Spanish and African. Well, that's actually what happens in the French territories. In Spanish territories, a criollo is a person who is born in the Americas, but whose parents are from Spain. So that's these are folks that were born in Mexico City or Puebla or these places. And so you have those folks also coming up to New Mexico. From Zacatecas, you have the Martin Serrano family. That's the Martinez family that come in 1598. So it's a mix of people. So those are the men that are coming in. Fray Angelico Chavez described these folks as Semitic Iberians, which means he was acknowledging that they weren't just European in their ancestry. They were also Jewish and Moorish Muslim. So we have that already going, a lot of mixing going on. Add to that most of these folks did not bring women from Spain with them. One guy that I'm aware of did. That would have been Pedro Robledo. He establishes the Robledo family in New Mexico. Well, he passes away before getting all the way up north, but he brings his large family and his wife. She's from Toledo, Catalina Lopez. And so, yeah, he brings a wife from Spain. But for the most part, when we start studying the records, the men who did bring women, the women were people that the men married in Mexico. Okay, so typically these might be criolla women, Spanish women, or they might be mixed blood women, women of Spanish and Indian ancestry, which was very common. And then you have those who married Native American, Mexican women. Montoya brought a wife who was Indian, Maria de Zamora, to New Mexico. So see, these are also people who are adding to the cultural and DNA mix to New Mexico. And then finally, you have people coming up here who have no wives, but they just take on wives or women from the pueblos. They are native Pueblo women, and they have children with them, mestizo kids, and those kids become part of the New Mexico Hispanic population. Well, also, there was a Greek who came, Griego. He came to New Mexico with the Oñate expedition. And then, of course, you get people with names like Durani Chavez, Lopez Holguin. These are Extremeños from Extremadura. And their children are marrying local women in Mexico and in New Mexico. So I want you to just know that this is a mix of people. We have descriptions of them. A lot of them are described as being dark-haired, dark-eyed with pointy noses, sharp noses, lantern jaws. Some had red hair or chestnut color hair and light eyes, blue eyes or gray eyes. So the people that came here reflected the Mediterranean world and the Mesoamerican world. There's all kinds of people coming up to New Mexico in 1598 and 1600. So I want you to keep this in mind because about 400 come up in the Oñate expedition. But as we'll see in a later episode, most become very disillusioned. This is not an expedition where people are really wanting to come and be farmers or do hard manual labor. These are people who are coming to start a new life, hoping to find opportunity and wealth. And when it doesn't produce that, when the land and the people here don't produce that, many become disillusioned and leave. But the ones who stay, about a tenth of that group, they stay, they remain, they're loyal and dedicated, and they are brought up here with that opportunity for a new life. They're immigrants. They are not of the noble classes. They are not of the high royal or noble classes. Maybe way back in their genealogy, there might be something like that. But these people were not carrying coats of arms, heraldry. They did not have this. However, it's complicated by the fact that one of the medieval ideas that was used to entice people to colonize New Mexico was granting them the titles of Hidalgo, Hidalguismo. Hidalgo means hijo de algo, son of something, son of someone. In other words, it's petty nobility. It's the lowest form of nobility. And yes, I believe it would be granted to those who came and stayed, and maybe, I think, for a few generations after that. But it wasn't something that was handed down for hundreds of years. And again, there's no coats of arms or anything like that. It means that you had the rights and privileges of a don or a doña. A man would be called Don Roberto, or Doña Maria. So these names would be given to people, but they were titles and they enticed people. It meant something back then. But ultimately, it didn't mean much else, especially in a poor frontier area like New Mexico. So I want you to think about that. This group that came to New Mexico and established and founded our Hispanic culture, they're people we are very proud of. They were hard workers. They had to learn to work the land. They had to learn to become farmers and herdsmen. But they were not of the noble classes. Those people would be given titles of governor. They could be appointed governor or bishop or viceroy or members of the audiencia in Mexico City. But no, they were not the people that came here. Our ancestors, the Hispanic ancestors that came to New Mexico, are people we could be proud of. In my opinion, they are all noble. Whether they were from Spain, Mexico, New Mexico, whether they were Spanish, Mestizo, Native American, they're all noble. Now, we'll see, that doesn't mean they all acted noble, but that's for another episode. Thank you for being here. Join me next time. Hasta luego. Bye.